Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you again. 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon.
Good. You know where you
Opposite
were.
Saxes.
Yeah.
I know where I am because you're here to tell me.
I didn't have to say anything.
Oh, I know, but sometimes I get I get lost.
Well, you're a busy guy.
What was that song? But I got uh, something. I gotta get lost somewhere down the road. I forgot it. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
I digress. We were talking about rules.
well, we were
Uh,
talking about rules because we were dog sitting our grand dog for
yeah.
the last week and a half. And I just don't understand. Well, we were out very, very early in the morning, very early, like sunrise. And there were a couple of people within 15 minutes of each other that had their dogs off leash.
Yeah, they're just walking because we have some open grassy areas in the community, and sometimes these people just take their dogs off leash and let them run around to get exercise. I understand that,
I get it too.
but
And I will say these dogs were very well behaved because the minute they whistled or they called them back, they came right back. However, I they could take that one other dog and it could be my dog that I'm walking that they think, oh, that looks like a fun dog to play with. And I get so frustrated because it is a law in our city.
yeah,
All dogs have to be
have to be
leashed.
on a leash.
Yeah.
And not only that, but our city has even gone to the extent of opening up some dog parks, uh, both
Most cities
the,
do.
yeah, they even have two. There's
Yeah.
one area for dogs up to a certain weight, and then
Right.
there's another park for large dogs. So you can go in and let your dog off leash, let them play with the other dogs. Uh, we did that with our dog at one time, and our dog is a little more timid.
Right.
And so when other dogs would come up to her, then she would
She would,
show her teeth, and
right. So
and
we
they
couldn't do that.
yeah, and we couldn't do that, and that's why I always wonder if you have a dog that you have on a leash and it sees another dog that's off a leash,
Yeah.
it has a tendency to want to run over to that dog,
Right.
and if
And
it gets away from you,
I
it could
get so
hurt the dog.
frustrated because now our dog passed away a couple of years ago already, and even back then, uh, for years there was certain people. If I was out at a certain time, I could guarantee I would see them walking their dog off leash, and it was too far for me to get a picture of them
Yeah,
to even send to the HOA or the city. But I just thought, come on, guys, just take the dog to the dog park or go to another park
but
at
see,
earlier in the
that
morning.
takes effort. That
Oh,
takes
but
effort. And
just
so some people that figure if they take their dog out to a large open grassy area. Now, I have to admit that I was guilty of it too. When we lived in Florida and we first got our dog,
yeah.
we had a big open grassy area, a common area in our community. And I used to go out there and I used to throw a tennis ball, and she would run after the tennis ball and bring it back to me because she wanted to play. And so I would take the tennis ball and I throw it again. Well, yeah,
Oh,
you can't throw a ball to a dog that's on a leash very easily unless you got a very long leash. So
you mean this was with Shayna?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but she was such a friendly dog that I would be afraid that she'd get sidetracked and go see somebody and go run after them to
She
say
might,
hello.
yeah, but I mean, I would usually do it at a time when there wasn't anybody around. Maybe a car would drive by and all, and she wasn't really that interested in that. And it was just a little bit to burn her out,
Well,
give
I
her
get
the
it. I get it.
exercise.
But you can't trust dogs or people.
Back in Illinois, we had a long chain for our dog that was right outside the back door.
Right.
You take the thing and hook it on the back of his collar,
Right.
and he would go down the stairs and he would run around the backyard, and the
Right.
chain would just
Right.
kind of
And then he'd get wrapped around a tree or something, and you'd have to go outside again.
well,
But
yeah,
but yeah, so
but
it just gets me aggravated.
but that's the world that we live in now. Is that there are rules. The old phrase, you rules what rules were made to be
They're
broken.
broken.
And today people take full advantage of that. If you have restrictions on how you have to maintain your property or whatever, some people say, to hell with that. I'm going to do it my way. And they do it their way because they figure I can get away with it until somebody says no. And then what I'll do is petition for a variance.
But okay, so but let's take it away from the HOA because we've talked about
Yeah.
HOAs previously.
Yeah.
Um,
But just
when we're at a restaurant, a nice restaurant, a fancy restaurant, and they come in with kids, that's the other thing I don't understand. I guess if you don't have a babysitter, we don't have money for a babysitter, but if you're at a decent restaurant that's kind of expensive, I would think you'd be able to afford the babysitter. But you go there for a nice quiet dinner,
well,
and sure enough, you get seated, or another family comes and sits next to you. And I'm just thinking, I remember when we had the kids, we only went to McDonald's, Burger King,
fast food restaurants.
Yeah,
that's why people
Chili's.
go to drive-throughs.
Well, we even went to Chili's. I didn't mind that because that's casual dining. That's a family restaurant. But a steak place or a nice dinner place with a bar and everything.
Well, you usually don't run into that in a fine steak place because that's not necessarily a place where you take small kids anyway. But for instance, I went out with a bunch of guys for a burger last week. We went to a place, and the place is a little noisy anyway. But they did exactly what you said. They put 3 or 4 tables together because 3 families came in, and each of them had 2 kids, and each of them had one kid that was probably under the age of 2. And there was absolutely at no time while we were having our dinner that one of those kids wasn't yelling and screaming about something. And the parents are oblivious to it. The kid wants that roll, and you take it away from that kid. That kid starts to yell and scream, and the mothers are talking to each other, and they don't even hear this kid screaming. And we're sitting there looking at them like, could you do something?
And we would get up and walk out, but people don't do that. Like in movies, if they bring the kids with them, or
the latest thing in the movies is when you're sitting there trying to watch the movie and somebody in the row in front of you decides they want to check their phone. So they open up the phone, and now you got this bright light, glowing from the row in front of you and distracting you from the movie.
Or they haven't turned it on mute.
Well, yeah. Well,
that happens in our
offices.
In doctors' offices, and then they carry on their conversation in the doctor's offices.
Yeah.
Some of the doctor's offices have put up notes about talking on your phone and carrying on a conversation. But in our synagogue, in the temple for services, every once in a while, somebody has a phone that goes off.
Even though one of the first things they say is, please take a moment to mute or turn off your phone. And
There's always one.
Most of the meetings I go to, they say the same thing. And then all of a sudden you hear somebody's phone going off because they weren't listening. They weren't following the rules. There were some places, and I don't remember where it was, that I read that you have to check your phone in before you go in. Weren't there some?
Yes,
there some restaurants?
I thought there were some restaurants. I don't know if it was New York.
And I know that I read something about a church or something that was doing that.
Oh, really?
Asking everybody when you come in, you want to check in your coat? Fine. You also check in your phone. And all.
Who is going to admit to that they have a phone? Of course, everybody has a phone.
When the phone goes off, or when you're sitting there and the pastor can see the bright light coming up in somebody's face, but rules are usually established because somebody took advantage of it.
That's true.
That's why you come up with rules, is because somebody didn't do it the way it should have been done. So they make a rule saying that you can't do it that way.
Or so it doesn't hurt the next person. Like in driving, you had mentioned to me, you're so tired of people not putting on their directionals. Yeah. Well, every once in a while you don't.
Well, I mean, the only time that I generally don't use my directional to change lanes is when there is absolutely nobody in front of me or behind me.
Time you do. So, but there's a reason to put on that directional, and that is to let people know that you are moving.
Right.
And if you don't, I mean,
And
somebody that's
everybody that's watching us right now has been in a situation where they're driving down a highway and there's a guy from the left lane that needs to exit over here,
yep,
go across 3 or 4 lanes of
right.
traffic, no turn signal, just move over. Like, hey, this is my road, and I want to get off at that exit.
And it's dangerous.
It is.
It's very dangerous.
And I've often said that you can now come up with a way to program your car to drive it all by itself, so you can take your hands off the steering wheel, but they can't come up with something that will prevent the car from changing a lane without engaging the directional signal.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Remember when they used to tell you to buckle up? Well, a lot of people said, hell with it. I don't want to buckle up. Now, for instance, like your car, you don't put that seatbelt on, it starts to bing. And 15 seconds later, the bing gets louder and louder, and to the point where it's almost annoyingly deafening. And you say to yourself, I need to connect my.
Yeah, I need to do something.
Yeah.
What about the person that gets in the express lane at the grocery store? You're only supposed to have 10 things.
You know, have you seen that lately? I don't know if I have seen a store that has an express lane, because number one, a lot of stores don't even have checkout counters anymore.
A lot of them don't.
It's self-check.
Yes.
And that's your express lane, basically.
Yes.
But the stores that we go to, they might have 10 checkout places and 1 or 2 are occupied by a
but every once in a while it will open up still.
But
that's when they have
always, people. But I remember those days where there was somebody that had a cart full of stuff and it said, 6 items or less. And you'd get in a lot and you just stare at these people, and these people like, what are you looking at? Excuse me, this is an express lane. Oh, it is? I didn't know that. But
what can I say? Have you been getting, when we have packages delivered, like 3, 4, 5 days before, it keeps saying something's coming, something's coming.
Oh, you get a notice on what your deliveries for the day?
And then eventually it comes. Now, I have something I'm waiting for that was, I was looking and it was FedEx. And it kept saying it's going to be on this certain day. And I got to the certain day and it wasn't showing up. And I go back to the tracking and it says, yeah, it's going to be here that day. Well, it didn't show up that day.
And there wasn't enough saying
your phone or on your computer.
Updated it or changed.
Finally, the next day, when I went back to it, it said, it was being delivered the next day.
Yeah. Well, I got a notice on a bill that was supposed to be delivered that day, and I looked and okay, I didn't get it the next day or the next day, and I thought, am I supposed to be concerned that they said the bill was being sent, but I didn't get it? But sure enough, about 4 days later, the bill arrived.
Yeah,
that's modern times for you.
Modern technology.
Yeah.
Modern technology. What can I say?
Okay.
It can always be worse.
Who used to say that?
My grandmother.
Yeah.
Always be worse. There's always something that can come along that can be worse.
And somebody also coined the phrase, don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That was a long time ago, too.
Yeah. That's when it was meaningful. It isn't meaningful anymore. So, thank you for tuning in and watching us.
Letting us vent.
Yes, please. And also, please use your directional signals.
Or leash your dog.
Yeah, and keep your dog only. Right. Yeah. And come back and see us again next week at 1:00 on Thursday. Okay.
Bye.